First Responder Wellness for the whole person with your hosts, Corinne Caise. So I think we've talked for 9 minutes and we haven't even started on our topic. But holidays are a tough time for anybody who struggles with any mental health or who has anything on their plate. And then first responders have some unique challenges with holidays. And we're looking at a lot of holidays coming up and, one right now. But you just said something really good there before we started about how it looks different for them.
Yeah, no, that's great. And they are often working holidays and they're dealing with like family drama. And some families are more adaptable to moving when they're celebrating than others. And
so if you're a shift worker, it means that you're going to work some holidays, or is there do first responders become veterans eventually or where they don't have to? How does that work?
Yeah, so holidays are definitely, I think, even more stressful for first responders because for many reasons, but one of which is they're often working some, part, all, and so this is another one of the things that they're missing of the family and the tradition. And often people are trying to find the workarounds and maybe their families are celebrating on different days. But also I hear a lot around this time, it's frustration with especially extended family who aren't willing to move the day that they are celebrating. And that can be really hurtful and frustrating. And
Because it's 1 week apart. You'd think that they would, right?
so it depends on the department, but as like a general rule, my experience has been that they usually will make it so make the rule that you can't request off or take off on the holiday days. So the typical, if it is your shift, you're working that day. Sometimes you get nice coworkers who will switch with you if you have young kids for Christmas or something like that. But my experience has been if it's on your shift day, then you're working it. So, and some shifts end up working, it will fall on Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, and they'll get really kind of screwed one year. It's tricky. So obviously that's hard, and your families have to be understanding, or you hope they're going to be understanding. So, and then like everybody else, you have the in-law dynamic. So then your spouses, are they going to your family's stuff while you're on duty if they're not moving it for you? And then there's the personality stuff, and you're not there to be trying to manage it or help it or whatever.
So they're mad at you because they're dealing with your in-laws and you're at work.
Yeah.
Maybe getting a break.
Yeah, I do hear sometimes too the like relief that they are working on a holiday, especially when there's a lot of stressful family dynamics, because they kind of get out of it and it's a very good excuse and all that kind of stuff. So
I get it. Could a tip maybe be then to communicate that the first responders just need to be able to advocate for themselves with their family and with extended family?
yeah, and set their own boundaries. I always tell people, like, I don't like it when people set boundaries with me, so your family doesn't have to like it, but especially your extended family, you have to kind of do what's best for you and your immediate family as far as making sure you're getting enough sleep and aren't overcommitting to what you can possibly be doing. So while most people are having the holidays off, when you aren't, that's a lot.
Yeah, I agree. And you mentioned something when we were talking ahead of time, because one of the reasons we do this is for the mental health wellness of first responders. This time of year, our rates of mental health crises go way up. That probably reflects in first responders too, I would assume.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the end of November. This is the day before Thanksgiving when we're recording this. And so the last month, less than a month, 3 weeks since the time changed, and it's dark at 5 o'clock, people are coming in, multiple times a day talking about having low energy, struggling with motivation, with mood, and people generally are feeling like they're the only ones struggling with this. And I keep telling people, I'm talking about this all day long. It is a really difficult transition here, especially in where we live.
Because we're in Cleveland, but anyone who lives where the weather changes and the sun changes are going to potentially deal with seasonal affective issues.
Absolutely. And that this happens every year, but we tend to forget how it felt last year, and different seasons hit harder than others. So This is also, this time of year tends to be a higher rate for suicides, suicidal ideation. So not only for the first responders, but also for going on those calls. It tends to be times where there's been tragedies, kid calls, people who've had a medical emergency or went down during a holiday, which then each year on that holiday is a reminder and is difficult.
And we're talking about this, like you said, the day before Thanksgiving. But what I'm thinking of what I normally do with my clients and needs to happen here now that we have a month before the next set of them is prevention. What do we do to protect ourselves from this expected mood change? And I know for some of my clients, I suggest getting the vitamin D lights, the sunlights, and trying to just get, if you can't get natural light, trying to get the natural upregulators we need for our mood and that. What do you think? Do you offer that, or do you have other ideas for feeling some sunshine?
Yes, and I definitely ask people. Most people, at least in Northeast Ohio, are deficient on vitamin D. So I usually will check to see if people have had their levels checked. And as a general rule, like taking a supplement in this area is pretty well advised by physicians. So I notice it helps me too. Whenever I am taking it again, I'm like, it does help. It doesn't seem like it's going to, but it does.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think about what's interesting here. We're talking about the Northeast Ohio area, but we get a ton of sun usually in the summer, and we all get soaked up and sunned up, and we don't realize that huge shift when we don't get any more of it. I think so. If you live in an area where it's up and down like that, I think we're more at risk. So thank you for mentioning too. You can get it measured, right? You can go to your PCP or your doctor and find out where your vitamin D is.
And
As one
yes,
factor.
many of the people in this area, at least, their departments are doing physicals much more regularly now. So just making sure that you're getting that checked, and if it's low, to be definitely taking it in the wintertime, even if it's on the lower normal side. It helps. Plus, it helps your immune system too, which we all need that around this time too. I also really recommend for people to be adjusting their expectations of themselves, of what all you can get done this season, what responsibilities you're taking on, and trying to say no to some things, even if it disappoints people.
I am so infatuated with what you just said, because if we start off preventively setting the table, if you will, for something we can handle and is feasible, we're going to have less of a fall or less of a constant yelling in our brain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful.
Even minimizing what we're purchasing for our kids for holidays, like a friend of mine does for her kids each year, which I love. Something you want, something you need, something to wear, and something to read. And that helps her put things in categories and not this overabundance of stuff where everybody gets into a bunch of credit card debt this time of year, and keeping those kinds of things simple and focusing more on quality time.
Which is something you would think about now, whatever shopping sales, to think to yourself, let me shop differently this year, or let me make something or embark in something more intimate or personal.
Yeah, and having these conversations with your spouse, if you're married and having kids, like what is our budget for the year and how do we try to stick within it so that we're not adding all of this stress this month that we're having to deal with next month, and keeping the darkest months of the year even more stressful and difficult than they need to be. So having a plan and trying to stick to it together and communicate really well.
So we're still recovering from the time change. For people who do a time change above the equator here, that alone, I know you're shaking your head because when clients come in and all of a sudden it's dark at 5, there's something in our psyches that don't accept that. So we're still adjusting to that. It's only been, not even a month since we've had that
absolutely.
happen. Thank you, first responders that live in Cleveland.
Yes. So also, I think it's important too to be talking with your significant other about, if you are off and going to the holidays with family and all of that, of code words or a way to say like, it's time to go. We need to leave. Yeah. Yeah. Parking on the street so you can get out, and communicating ahead of time so that he or she is not upset or like think you're a party pooper, or drive separately. If your significant other is someone who likes to stay and really enjoys that, it's like, then let's drive separate and you stay as long as you want. And when I'm done, I'll make sure to say goodbye to you, but might even do my own Irish goodbye and dip out and head home.
Well, we talked about on one of our other podcast about the overstimulation when you're off duty and how everything's so much louder. And then you're at a party that's loud. You may not have the same threshold that someone else does.
Yes, and your family asks you really stupid questions. One common one I hear people say they get asked all the time is like, what's the worst thing you've ever seen? And which is never fun. Nobody ever wants to answer that question. I suggest that people switch it to say, do you mean like the funniest thing I've ever seen? And have a funny story teed up that is something that's fun to tell, appeases them, and pivots around. Because we all know when you actually do give them the worst thing, they don't know what to do with it. They're stunned. They have a bit traumatized themselves. And you're like, was that fun? Was that good for you? Thanks.
I'm sorry, that'd be like asking somebody in the military, tell me about some bad scene over there in Afghanistan. Like,
people do that all the time.
Don't do that. Sorry, people listening who are loved ones. Yeah, don't do that, because that just opens up a negative story for all of us. And unless there's something to learn, and if your first responder tells you, hey, here's a great way to prevent fires in an apartment, that's information I need, but I don't need to hear about the tragedy.
Yeah, if they want to tell you a story, they will. But even when there's local popular news stories that come up that is in the city that you work, people will ask them, were you on duty? What did you see? What do you know? And it's like, I mean, I'm just trying to do the Christmas right now. I'm just trying.
I want to talk about. Is that a boundary thing where first responders can learn to just say, you know what, I don't discuss that? Is that okay to do?
Yeah. I think too, as much as you can ahead of time, having catchphrases where you have the thing teed up so you're not taken by surprise or don't know what to say, or just where you're like, I don't like talking about work on the holidays or when I'm off. And you can have your spouse help if you feel comfortable with that too, and they're around to kind of save you from that conversation and make a pivot.
You need another code word. Yeah. You need another gesture.
Yes, for sure. Other people don't have to like your boundary. It's not our job to please everybody. We tend to be more likely to be people pleasers in a helping profession. So you're probably afflicted with it, like Caise and I am, and I'm sure you are as well. And so it's hard to not just giving people whatever they ask for, or when you feel like if you're setting a boundary, you're being rude. When they ask you a question that is rude or invasive, you saying no or that you don't want to answer it is not you being rude.
And you can do it with humor and levity. Sometimes you can dispel or not make it so intense by taking it lightly in your hands. It doesn't always have to be this, I don't want to talk about it. It could be simply, hey, we don't talk about that. It's Christmas. There are tactics to not make it feel confrontational.
Absolutely. Another piece of advice I have heard myself in trainings that I found very helpful and I'd like to pass along too is that we often have difficult family members. We all do. They come to the holidays and each year they say something about your weight, your house, your job, your kids, anything, right? And it is something, and we are shocked by that. We can't believe they said that or they asked that when we've been knowing them for a long time, and that this is what they do. And I think a big piece to like help cope with all of that is just even not being surprised. This is what you get. Like you could be surprised if they don't ask an inappropriate or offensive question, invasive question, right? You can be impressed if they blow your expectations and are the version of them that you'd like them to be. But if they are the version that has been difficult for you to cope with and manage before, even just the distance of not being surprised can be really helpful. We get stuck in this playing the tape over and over, like, and can you believe she said that? Yes, we can.
And why would it change? Unless you know that person did something to work on it, or even in your remote family, if we don't give our children an opportunity to change their behavior, it's going to be the same every time there's that stimulus. So the holiday stimulus is going to bring this out in some people. So we anticipate it. We know it's coming. Again, maybe that levity and whimsical of, oh, so-and-so is going to do that thing they do, instead of letting it become an agitation.
Yes, and something that you play over and over and over again in your mind.
There's enough playing over and over in the mind of our first responders. We don't need, Aunt so-and-so and her bad breath.
Yes, or her commenting about how the turkey is dry, or how you don't have enough decorations, or your house isn't what she wants it to be, or that she had to drive all the way to you, or whatever the thing is. We all know those family members. We all have them. Let's not be surprised about it. Let's be ready for it and finding the ways to pivot around it.
I mean, we make movies about this. All of National Lampoon's, Christmas Vacation. Isn't that the whole thing about how family members have their idiosyncrasies?
This is also a good time to be noticing when you're feeling overstimulated, when it gets too hot in the house, when it's too loud, and either go outside if it's cold out. That will help. It, regardless, going outside can take you away. Grab an ice pack, put it on the back of your neck, do a lap around the neighborhood, and just take some space. And the research shows even taking 15 minutes in a bathroom without your phone, without anything, no talking to anybody, even if you only can do 5 or 10 minutes, but just be in there, no stimulation, it will help to bring down and give you a little bit of a reset.
I tell people this all the time. Even at a busy restaurant, when you're out to dinner, go make an excuse to sit in the stall and just close your eyes.
Yeah.
Less noise, less stimulation. I love that. And the longer the better, but 5 minutes, I think, being able to turn the brain off for these folks, for all of us, would be a good idea.
Yep. Running your hands under cold water, splashing cold water on your face.
Getting out of the stimulation for a little bit. And I think this is true all year round, but more so when we're tied to more events. Going outside is always going to be a good idea, especially when we're talking about winter. And maybe if you can find things to engage with in winter outdoors, whether it's holiday or not, forcing yourself to find that thing that you do that is outdoors. I mean, they have, I know around us, they have parks where you can go on a winter hike and they set up little winter candle tables where you bring snacks and wine. I mean, you can learn to embrace the outdoors. It just takes a little effort, and that flexibility could be just what you need in the winter anyways.
Absolutely, yeah. And, if communicating with your significant other or older kids, if you do, that, you're going to go outside and take some time. And even giving them like the heads up that you're running out of the energy or the capacity. And so like, how about 45 minutes? We start heading out.
I love that you kind of highlighted that, because we can make choices for ourselves, but if we don't tell someone what we're doing, it might create more conflict down the road. So we're going back to that communication theme, but yeah, let someone know. If you don't see me, I'm taking a break in the bathroom.
Yes, that's right. And if we could do this before we get really irritable and start like snipping, then that's going to help with the rest of the evening at home, all that kind of stuff too. Know thyself. Are you coming off shift from the day before? Have you slept well? Have you taken care of yourself? Have you exercised? All of that stuff. If you are depleted in some of these areas, then you're going to be at a disadvantage going into the holiday.
That's why kids have temper tantrums, because they're hungry and we don't know it, and then they freak out, right?
Yes.
Yeah, kind of all tied together.
Absolutely.
Holidays often come with more increased substances. And whether you have an issue with it or not, we do know that many of our social, alcohol, pot, whatever you do, they can be depressives too. They are depressives. They are not stimulants typically. So I would just maybe think that there's a place to be cautious with the increased alcohol too if you're dealing with depressive symptoms. I mean, I think that's maybe a given, but worth saying.
Like even noticing if you're doing it the day before also will make the day of more difficult, challenging, all of that kind of stuff. And if you can, like switch out with a soda water or a non-alcoholic beer in between, or, try to just pace yourself and hydrate.
Juice and hydrate. Yeah. Because depending on your body, it may not seem like it affects you, but Corinne, what you said is true. The next day, you might be irritable because your system has been on a depressant vibe when it really needed maybe, a different kind of energy. So that's sort of a general for people to think about. Anything we didn't hit on that would be helpful?
The only other thing I like to tell people is to also know yourself and your significant other and your kids potentially too about whether or not you're an introvert or an extrovert, because the difference in that makes for how the day and the socializing will affect you. So I consider myself an outgoing introvert. So I can talk to anybody, but my cup gets filled up when I'm in either smaller, more intimate groups where we're having deep, meaningful conversation, and I get depleted with a lot of small talk. So the weather, this is always the talk is the snow, lack of snow, how's work, how are the kids, how's this, that stuff drains my battery. So on the actual holiday, when we're going about doing all of that stuff, the next day, for actually a couple days, I have to recharge. I can't then book another social thing the very next day. And you may also find yourself married to an extrovert who loves that stuff and thinks you are nuts and just a curmudgeon for not wanting to do all of that, or for that draining you, or for being like, we can't be there all day. That's too much. So knowing if we can be having these conversations about both, an extrovert gets filled up by that kind of interaction and connection. And so we tend to marry somebody who is the opposite of us. And here we are. So if we can be talking about what fills us up and what doesn't, that can be really helpful. And everybody trying to do their best and trying to fill up or maintain their own cups in the best way that they can. And it's not personal. It's just how we're built. And
That's a terrific tip. It's terrific. And it goes back to what you said earlier about that too, is you can drive separate. You can come up with a different plan. You don't have to do everything exactly together, or you can compromise when you do have to be together. So know thyself, know thy loved ones.
yes, and if you have children, your kids are mixes of that too. I have two different kids, and one of my youngest is like, wants to know how many people are going to be there. If it's too many people, he doesn't want to go. And he does get overwhelmed, and he's always ready to leave. And I usually tell him that he and I are the same that way. So come and just sit with me, and we'll try to supply our energy. And then also that helps me to know where you're at. And if you're struggling and I'm struggling, we can bow out.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the kid part too, because they are usually, for many first responders, in tow with that. So we talked about recharging after the holiday, decompression time, which could also happen in the bathroom during a holiday, or outdoors in your car. We talked about boundaries, communicating those boundaries, feeling comfortable with them, maybe using humor. Prevention tools, starting this now. Don't start it the day before. Start looking at your vitamin D, your outside time, your overall self-care, knowing what you do and don't need, knowing yourself, knowing loved ones, and then maybe watching what's coming in and how it's impacting you, like substances, Aunt Clara, whatever. So that's a lot in just a short amount of time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And having boundaries and being prepared for it can be really like a very good barrier or armor.
When this shows up and we do the little social media clip, I'm going to ask people to put in comments what their code word or code gesture is. How do they let somebody know that we're out of here? I think that'd be really funny.
We had a speaker that came in, and one of the local fire departments hosted it. But he was saying he and his wife had a code word, and he kind of teed you up all for it. And then he was like, let's get the out of here. It's perfect.
That's pretty good. No, there's no ambiguity.
That's our code phrase.
Oh my God, I love it.
So
it's kind of like the kid book. Instead of saying, good night moon, why can't you go to sleep? Like, let's just get right to it.
Yes. Oh, I love that book.
I was just at a baby shower and they didn't get that yet. So I can't wait to give it to them when the baby's here, because I'm like, you can read all those cute books, but you're really going to want to say this in your head at least.
Yeah. Absolutely. And especially before they know what all that means and you're sitting in the rocking chair nursing them. That's a good book to read.
All right. Well, we'll be back with more great ideas, but this is a good start for folks, anyone, but our first responders dealing with the holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Join us for our next episode on First Responder Wellness for the Whole Person.